Hello, everybody. Welcome to Intro to Political Theory. My name is Eric Hodges, and I'm your instructor for the course. So, I want to start us off with a scenario. Okay, I want you to think about this as we're actually going through the course. Imagine that we have been marooned on a desert island, right? The 36 of us are marooned on a desert island, and there's no government. It's just us, right? Nobody even knows we're there. We're just, completely suspend disbelief. Nobody knows where we are. There's no government. Maybe there was a nuclear holocaust. Maybe aliens wiped out everybody else, right? But so it's just us. So throughout this course, we're going to consider questions like, what should we do, as we're marooned on this desert island? Should we allow everybody to sort of go off on their own and do whatever they want to do? Does it make sense for us to work together, right? Does it make sense for us to come together and form some sort of society, some sort of government? If so, why? And how? How do we do it, right? How are you actually going to choose what kind of government that we have? And finally, what kind of government will it be, right? So throughout the semester, we're going to look at a lot of different political thinkers who have tried to answer these particular questions, and they've all answered them in slightly different ways, right? So one way that's interesting to think about that we're actually not going to be touching on in this particular class is something that was proposed by an American philosopher named John Rawls, right? One of the most famous political philosophers of the 20th century. And John Rawls created something called the original position, right? So our group is in the original position, right? We're at the point where there has been no society or no government formed, right? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we've decided that we are actually going to form a government society, right? The question then becomes, how do you do it, right? And Rawls was particularly interested in how do we create a society that's fair and just for everybody, right? So he created this sort of theoretical device that he called the veil of ignorance. And the veil of ignorance means that we're all sitting around, the table, the tribal council or whatever, right? And we're trying to design the laws, the policies for our society. How do we do it? Well, Rawls had this thing called the veil of ignorance, where essentially he was saying when we're deciding which laws we're making, right? What policies we're going to put into place, what kind of government we're going to have. We have to do it as if none of us knew what we were going to be in that society. We don't know if we're going to be rich. We don't know if we're going to be poor. We don't know if we're going to be a man. We don't know if we're going to be a woman. We don't know if we're going to be a minority, a majority, etc. Right? So Rawls believed that not knowing what your status would be in a particular society would lead you to create laws and policies in a government that would favor the person who's going to be the least well off. Right? So that was Rawls's strategy for designing a fair and just society as he saw it. So anyway, that's just one example of the type of things that we're going to be thinking about throughout the semester, right? Okay, so a little bit more about myself, right? I'm going to ask you guys to do introductions as well. So I'll follow the same format, and I'll list this in the discussion exercise. I'm going to ask you guys to. I'll follow the same format that I'm going to ask you guys to, right? So my name, Eric Hodges, right? What campus am I on? I'm at the Sarasota Manatee campus. I'm an assistant professor of political science and ISS, Interdisciplinary Social Sciences, at USFSM. So that goes into my major, right? I have a PhD in government and global affairs, right? Primarily focusing on American government, but I do some international stuff too. Summer plans. I'm married. I have a 2-year-old daughter. We're originally from Virginia, so we're going to travel. So you guys you'll see me in different surroundings throughout the course, right? It's one nice thing about an online class. You can travel around a bit, but obviously if you guys need to get in touch with me, you can just shoot me an email or we can set up a call or something like that. So summer plans. So actually I'm going to Maine for 2 weeks. So escaping the Florida heat. And then we're going to spend the rest of the summer in Virginia, and then we're coming back in August. So my wife's a teacher as well, so that lets us travel. Last question: what makes a good course? Right, I think this is really important I particularly want to know what you guys think, right? Because the way that I teach the course will depend upon what people think. What people think makes a good course. Obviously, I have some opinions on it, so I'm not gonna throw out all grades and things like that. But unfortunately, people are motivated by uh, you know self gain, things like that, right? So you have to put grading and assignments and things like that into place, or oftentimes people won't do the work, unfortunately, right? Okay, so what makes a good course? What do I think? Well, I think first of all, people need to be interested, right? If you're not interested in the material, you're not going to put the work into actually learning it. I think this stuff is really cool. I think it's really exciting. It's the reason I have a PhD in it. uh, but if you're not interested in these questions about what kind of society do we want to live in? Is it better for us to live in a Is it better for us to live in a free market economy versus a state controlled economy, right? Um, what is justice, right? Is justice what benefits the strong, or is justice what benefits the weak, right? So hopefully you'll find these questions interesting. So that's the first thing. I think you have to be passionate and interested about the topic. The second thing is that I think there needs to be a lot of interactions that go on in a course, right? It shouldn't just be just me to you, right? So it shouldn't be you're turning to me as the great source of wisdom, right? We need to learn from each other, right? I always learn as much from the students as they may learn from me, right? So there has to be a student-teacher interaction where there's sort of a reciprocal relationship that goes on there, and you also need to be learning from each other, right? So we're learning from each other. There's the instructor to student relationship, there's a student to student relationship, and then there's also the sort of student to material relationship. So I think you need to have all three of those things in place. And one of the things that can be challenging about online classes is oftentimes you don't have the discussions that you have in a face-to-face class where you get the interaction, and that's typically where we learn from each other, right? And that's why I make discussion a really big and important part of the classes that I teach. Right, so we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I think you got to have passion, you got to have interaction, and also I think it's important to know each other and trust each other, right? Because if we don't, and that's why I'm doing these introductions up front. That's why I want you guys to do video introductions to introduce yourself so people can put a face with the name, right, and get to know each other a little bit. Because if you don't really trust the other person, you don't feel safe objecting to something, then you're going to hold back. Right? And if you hold back, oftentimes, the way that we often learn is by disagreeing with one another, right? So we have to live in a space where it's okay to disagree, right? And that's something we see that plagues us in our society right now in our political discourse. So I was actually reading an article this morning about McKinsey and Company, which is a consulting firm, and they have a policy in their company at meetings. All employees have an obligation to dissent. Right? An obligation to disagree. If you're in a meeting and somebody says something you don't agree with, you need to speak up and actually, go against that. And that obviously doesn't mean that you do it just for the sake of doing it. But if there is something you disagree with, you need to speak up, right? And if there are things you don't agree with, somebody else expresses an opinion, you do it respectfully, but you say, well, I disagree, and here are the reasons why. And usually through that disagreement, hopefully both people are learning something. So anyway, those are the major things that I think, makes a good course, right? And I think the material has to be interesting, right? It can't be dry. That's one of the reasons that I'm including movies in the course, right? I think sometimes theories can be really dry, but if you see it play out, you're like, oh, that's really cool, right? So if we're thinking about like an absolutist form of government, it sounds sort of interesting in a vacuum, maybe a little bit boring. But then you watch the movie V for Vendetta and you actually see it play out and you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, right? So that's something else. I think a good course needs to be relevant. It needs to be relevant to your life, because if it's not relevant, then why do you care, right? It's just checking off a box. So that's my 2 cents on what makes a class interesting. Okay, course format. Obviously, it's an online course, right? And we're doing it for 10 weeks. And the way that I have the course broken down is into modules. So each week there will be a module. So for example, for this week, there's module 1. Last week I posted the Getting Started module. Hopefully you guys already had a chance to look at that. If you didn't, go back and look at that. It just gives you more basic information on the course, right? So each week there'll be a module, right? And here are the way that the modules will be broken up. So the first thing in the module will be an overview to the module. There'll be a page that says, here's what's involved in this module, right? Here's what you need to do to complete this particular module. The second thing, there'll be a video just like this, right? Where I'll talk about the discussion from the past week, and I'll answer any questions if anybody has any questions. One thing to say is that on the Canvas page, I have a discussion forum created on the course questions, right? So if there is a question that comes to you, rather than emailing just me, post it on the course forum, so other people can see the answer, right? Because probably a lot of people have the same questions. So post it on there. All right. So, okay. So I will talk about in the video the discussion from last week, and then I'll introduce the material for the upcoming week, right? So watch the video. There could be important announcements in there as well, right? I'm going to try not to make them too long, 10 or 15 minutes, something like that, right? So there'll be the video. Each week there'll be a short reading, right? They're philosophy, so it's not the easiest reading, but I'm trying to make it short and really sort of getting to the point, right? There will be a page that sort of lists it won't actually necessarily have the movie itself that goes along with that particular week's topic, but it'll at least be sort of a link to, Amazon or iTunes or something like that that shows you how you can get to this particular movie, right? And then there will be a discussion question, which will be the major assignment for each week. So the way the discussion will work is that I will post the discussion question. So I'll post the video and the module and stuff on Monday morning. I'll post the video on I post the discussion on Wednesday, right? So Wednesday morning, the discussion forum will open up. The discussion will be based on the reading and the movie for that week. So there are two phases to completing the discussion, right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to respond to my question, right? And I want you to do that within 48 hours. So that means if I post it on Wednesday, it needs to be done on Friday, right? So from whatever time I post it, 48 hours, and that'll take you into Friday, right? So that's completing the first part of the discussion. Second part of the discussion is I want you guys to respond thoughtfully to what one of your classmates says. And the way that I'm going to do the discussions is I'm going to break you guys into small group discussions, right? Groups of 5 or 6 people. So I want you to respond to my question, and then I want you to respond to one of your classmates. I want you to do that by Sunday, right? When I say respond, I mean something that shows that you've actually read what the other person said and actually thought about it in the context of the movie and the reading for that week, right? So that's the major assignments for a particular week, right? Now sometimes there will be other things, like for example, this week there's a quiz as well, and the quiz is related to looking at the syllabus, looking at the Canvas page, and watching this video. So there are questions. Most of the questions are taken from the syllabus. 1 or 2 are taken from this video, and 1 or 2 are taken from like my welcome page on the Canvas page, right? All quizzes are open book, right? I just want to make sure that you guys are picking up on the salient facts. There'll also be a midterm. The midterm is not open book. Same format as the quizzes. It'll be multiple choice true false with the addition of like some short essay questions at the end. But that one should be closed book, no outside materials. And then the final assignment for the course is something I'm calling an annotated filmography. You guys might have done annotated bibliographies before, where you find, books or articles that are related to whatever project you're working on, and you write a short description of those articles, books. This is similar for this class, right? But rather than finding books, I want you guys to actually find movies. So I'll talk more about this as the semester goes on, but essentially what I'm going to have you guys do is choose one of the themes from the course. For example, let's say The State of Nature, right, by Thomas Hobbes, right, talking about the state of nature as a state of war. And then I want you to go, so we have a film chosen for that, right? The film that we have chosen for that is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, right? But I want you guys to find 5 other movies that you think are a good representation of the particular theory that's laid out by Thomas Hobbes, right? And then I want you guys to write a short description of each of those films and why you think they relate to that particular theory. Okay, so those are the major assignments. Let's see if there's something that I'm missing here. So there are no, you don't have to buy any textbooks for the class. All the readings will be posted on Canvas, but you will occasionally have to buy movies, right? So for example, if you don't have Netflix, you may have to rent a movie, through Amazon or iTunes or something like that. But hopefully, the cost of those movies, and some of those movies, just a resource, you may want to try the library, right? Oftentimes, you can find a lot of these movies at the library for free. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys to figure out how you want to get those movies. Um, I think that's basically all I've got for this particular week. Um, So each week in the module, I'll lay out what you need to do, right? But if you want to look ahead, something like that, get a better sense of what's going on, refer to the course syllabus, right? And the last page of the course syllabus is a schedule that lays out the entire course. And this is what the course is actually going to look like. So definitely take a look at that, right? And you will need to take a look at that to complete the first quiz. But essentially, I think that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys better in the introductions, right? So I'll go ahead and post the introduction assignment now. Typically, I won't post, so that'll be the first discussion. Typically, I won't do that until Wednesday, but I'll go ahead and open that up now. And as I was saying earlier, what I want you guys to do, right, and I'll list this in the discussion as well. Ideally, I want you to film a video so I can see your face, other people can see your face, right? All you have to do, film the video, you can upload it to YouTube, and then just include a YouTube link under your name, right? And we can all go into YouTube and watch it. If you don't have a webcam, if you can't get access to one, just post a picture of yourself and answer the following questions, right? So the questions that I want you guys to answer: name, campus, major, summer plans, what are your plans for the summer, and finally, what do you think makes a good class? And that's basically it. So I'll open that up. I want you guys to do that, do the one that I have posted, answer my question, post the introduction by Wednesday, or I'm sorry, by Friday, and then I want you to respond to at least one of your classmates by Sunday. And there's a quiz this week. As I was saying, the quiz is related to the course syllabus, information about the class. You can find it in this video, course syllabus, course website. That's due by Saturday at midnight. Do you guys have any questions? Post them on the course questions page. If that doesn't work, you can shoot me an email. Have a good week. Looking forward to the class together.